Hello YouTube, I hope you're having a fabulous weekend. I celebrated at Victoria's restaurant. That's my new spot, girl. Oh my god, it's so nice. They R&B Fridays. I brought my son. He couldn't come upstairs with me to the rooftop, but it's just a wonderful ambiance. Every day they have something different. They have Jazz Thursdays and R&B Fridays, and I'm glad I brought my son with me because like if he wasn't with me, I wouldn't have went downstairs. And I actually was there on a Friday before, and they do live music. That's wonderful. They sing R&B songs or whatever, and I'm like, I might want to get into that, you know, do the singing part. I wonder how do they have auditions. I'm gonna ask, you know, I'm gonna inquire, you know, because it was so fun, and you know, I'm dancing with the musicians, and it's so much fun. Like, bring your mammy, bring your girlfriend, bring your wife, bring your kids. It's such a wonderful, like, yes, you can get your eat on, your drink on, and just have a good time and let your hair down. And I needed that. And the trains was ghetto last night. Oh my god. But other than that, it was a really good time. You know, my son, he wants to see Megan, so I'm like, okay, the movie theater was right there, Magic Johnson Theater. And I just wanted to briefly talk about that. Like, all the movie theaters that they shutting down is popular, like downtown Brooklyn movie theater, Linden and Jamaica, but people was coming, and then Magic Johnson ain't nobody there, and it's open. So I don't know, but I wanted to talk about a movie that I just seen on Prime, and I could tell it probably was a Lifetime movie because those, you know, and I was watching Lifetime like as a little girl, like I was very mature for my age, and many of us, we watched Lifetime as a young girl. I watched Nickelodeon as well too, but Lifetime was so intriguing. Lifetime was just teaching you about life at an early age, like all the red flags of a no good man. And a lot of us are strong and stand up for ourselves because of Lifetime, like for real. Like I swear, like shows like Moesha and TV shows and movies that came on Lifetime, it just really shaped us into our beliefs and who we are. Yes, TV helps raise us too, you know. So I wanted to talk about them. The movie is called Crimes of Passion, Victim of Love, and this movie is so good because the way it starts out, you don't think the ending is gonna, you know, it's crazy. So I decided to talk about this movie not just because it's good, but to all my parents. You don't stop being a parent. If you have any inkling that something is wrong, you speak out, right? So also, this was also on Unsolved Mysteries, and once they put it out there, they was able to catch him. So the man's name was Dave Davis, and he killed, her name was Shannon Moore. He married her in 79 and killed her in 1980. And I just wanted to talk about all the red flags that led up to her death. The first red flag was he was rushing things. So they dated for 2 months, and he goes to her parents. The parents didn't see any red flags, and sometimes that happens, but it's unfortunate. But the father was like, why you want to get married so quickly, right? Why you want to get married so quickly? So she meets him at a friend's wedding, you know. So he's handsome, he's well dressed, he was an older guy, but his personality and his swag, I guess, intrigues her. So they get married. The second red flag was he didn't want a wedding. He was like, oh, you know, Dave, he wants to go to Vegas to get married. So the parents are like, who does that, you know? Now, all of us had thought about that. Like, I've even thought about it. But anytime when a man wants to marry you, but he doesn't want any witnesses, There's a reason for that, ladies, and I don't care what nobody says. Like, I have a friend right now, she wanted a big wedding. She actually invited bridesmaids or whatever, and me and her don't really talk, so but you know how you could just feel something is wrong, because every woman, we all want that big wedding deep down inside. Some people don't have a big wedding because they don't have any family. I know somebody I used to work with, she has family, but they're very dysfunctional, and I understand why she didn't invite them this time around. She moved out of state to start over in PA, and his family came. They had like a dinner or whatever. But sometimes that's what happens if you don't have much family. Like with me, I have a very big family, but I'm not close to everybody. So I know for me, I would want to have my wedding at a church and reception at like Brooklyn Chop Shop or something, or like like a nice restaurant where we could like rent out the space. That's what I would want. Nothing too, but I would always, of course, want to share that moment with my people, with my parents, with my uncle and his wife, my son. I have another cousin, I'm close to him. So for me, if I was to get married right now, it would be 6 people on my side, and then I'll probably have a couple of my friends come. Yeah, but I would definitely want to share that moment with the people special in my life. You getting married, it's like graduating college. You want to share that moment with everybody. So getting married is like, so that was another red flag. He didn't want a wedding because it wasn't a special moment for him. Another red flag was he didn't want her parents around as much, right? Because this is a man who lies and doesn't have family. But before that, there's a scene, July 4th, 1980. And so everybody's having a good time, eating or whatever. And so she finds a pair of pants in his room, or wherever she finds it. No, before that, a woman comes up to her at the barbecue, and she's like, oh, XYZ, she made mention of his ex-wife, and she's like, oh, you didn't know? So she played it off like, oh yeah, I knew that, but she didn't know he was previously married, and she didn't know he had children. So that's another red flag, ladies. If a guy hides his past life, that's another red flag. He also lied about being in Vietnam, the Marines, and they didn't find out he was lying. So the father, because like they went to Vegas, so nobody was invited. His mother, Dave Davis' mother, at the funeral, she was chatting with the father, and he was like, oh yeah, he been through a lot, he was in Nam and all of that. She's like, my son never been in Vietnam, he was never in the Marines. Like, crazy, right? So all of the truth is coming out. The best friend is questioning him too. And then the day she died, he's like, oh, she gotta get cremated, and they're like, no, the parents. And that's the point of me making this video, what I wanted, the point that I'm trying to convey. You never stop being a parent. If Shannon's parents would have never like investigated the death, he would be walking around a free man. And that's what often happens. A lot of people don't investigate things and they don't fight. But I encourage any parent out there, keep fighting for your child. God forbid if they pass away or whatever, just, you don't stop being a parent once they get grown. And I've heard that saying a lot, and I never understood it until watching this movie. That's why movies are so good. They're so educational, like, but I have a son, and if I had any inkling that something was wrong in his relationship, I'm gonna speak up on it, because it could be his life. So there's a scene in there where she's crying and she's telling them, don't go. She's saying, don't go. She's lipping it to them, and he's like, oh, he was gonna take her to move out of state. And so she's like, yeah, I want my parents here. This is the final night that we're going to be here, and we moving out tomorrow or whatever, you know, because she was their only child. So naturally, she's very close to her parents. So he tried, that's another red flag. He was trying to cause a disconnect between her and her parents. What is the best way for a man to control you? Is he takes you away from your family, right? All she had was her parents. She didn't have siblings. She didn't have children, nothing. She just had her parents. So he was trying to start a wedge in between them. When he couldn't do that, he got rid of her. So basically, they found out that he paralyzed her with a tranquilizer that paralyzed her. And, you know, and it made her paralyzed, so she couldn't fight back. But before he got it in her system, there were scratches on his face. And that's the first thing that the mother noticed. Like, why do you have scratches on your face? He had scratches on his face because she was fighting for her life. You know, he took her into the woods. And now I'm scared to go in the woods now, because you hear so many crimes that happen in the woods, for real. Because when you're in the woods, you're alone. There's no witnesses, whatever. So somebody could kill you even today, and it's like not even your word because you're dead. It's just their word against. Somebody got to step up for you and speak out, you know. And I can't stress that, ladies, that if a man hides his past to you, like something like that, being married and having children, that is a serious liar. He didn't just lie about ice cream. You know, we all lie about things here and there. We're human, right? So it's not like he lied on a job interview because he really wanted or needed that job. Or although after a certain age, I don't recommend that. But you know, certain lies are understandable. Or like if you know, if you're at the grocery store and your wife told you go get some ice cream, and then you're in the car driving and she calls you and she's like, did you get the ice cream? You might say yes to avoid an argument, right? That's what you call little white lies. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this man lied about having a whole family, ex-wife and children. How he know that she was going to sign up for that? He didn't bother telling her because he planned on killing her. Another red flag was he took out 6 different life insurances and he needed a copy of the death certificate, right? He had her body embalmed. There was just so many red flags. He had it embalmed, and it was no autopsy. As a husband, why wouldn't you why wouldn't you want to know how she died? Right? You know, that's just so weird. The day after she died, he's talking to his best friend about buying real estate. And even the friend was like, wow, you talking about real estate and she just passed away? Like, so the best friend was on to him like, yo, you know. But it's called Crimes of Passion, Victim of Love. And if you have Prime, you have to see it. It's such a good movie. It was on Unsolved Mysteries. This is based on a true story. And I love the movie so much because the parents were strong and they never gave up. And me as a parent, and my son is only 16, I can't imagine, you know, the loss of a child. But I would do the same thing. I would fight for justice. But even before that, I would use my inkling. Like, it's just sad how things happened right before she died. Like, the girl was crying. If it was me and my personality and my child is upset or crying, you're coming home with me and you're going to tell me everything that's going on, because you're my child and I'm not going to stop being your mother. Some people might say it's overbearing or whatever, and I think I said this in a previous video. Sometimes you have to be overbearing because sometimes people are just so blindsided by love, or not even in love, is they want to be loved so badly that they can't see things straight, right? So, and this could go for boys too, because they have a movie. It's actually a newer movie. It came out in the 2000s of a father's worst nightmare, something like that, and it's about a girl who is abusive to her boyfriend, to the boy, and they teenagers. So it definitely does happen to boys too, but in this case, it happened to their daughter, and she was only 25 years old. She had her whole life ahead of her, and to die like that, and it could have been prevented. Had she just saw the red flags and left, because she definitely had red flags, and it came up in court when the prosecutor was like, well, didn't she know he was previously married? Because the whole thing was like, oh, my daughter would never want to be cremated. She was raised Catholic. And then the prosecutor was like, did the cross-examination, and he was like, but she's Catholic and she still married a man that was previously married. Right? And then the mother was like, she didn't know, which she didn't know at first, but she found out after they were married. That's the thing, because that scene, which I should watch it again, but it's a scene where a family member comes up to her and was like, oh yeah, his wife or ex-wife, and she's like, oh, and she's like, oh, you didn't know? And she's like, oh yeah. She played it off like, yeah, I knew. And then she was like, what? Like, you was married before? Like, she didn't know or whatever. And she found like a pair of pink pants in the room. She's like, who, what's going on? And then after he kills her, he's with another woman. They go to Florida like the 2 days after, and before they get to court, they're in the office, and he's like, did you share a room with Jerry, which is the woman, when y'all went to Florida? And he was like, yeah. So that proves that infidelity. Like, he planned on killing his wife after a year for insurance money, because you gotta wait a certain amount of time, like 6 months to a year. And yeah, it's a really, really good movie. Like, I mean, Lifetime movies are always good, but this movie is so good because it's like, wow, he almost got away with the perfect crime. And honestly, if he didn't use that tranquilizer, or if he didn't use that stuff to paralyze her, he probably would have got away with it, because they could say, oh, she hit her head and then she just died from heat stroke because it was very hot, and he put her in which was weird. I don't know why he did that, but he dragged her body from the woods to the valley, to like the wheat area. So yeah, it's called Crimes of Passion, Victim of Love. I can't stress it enough. Ladies, look at the red flags. She had her red flags. She didn't look at the red flags. The man lied to her about having a family. He crying, made her cry. He was like, she was like, why you ain't telling me you had kids? He was like, because he's not allowed to see his kids and this and that. And he was like, that's just opening old wounds. Now, some men will be like, why you in my business? But with him, he was like, he started crying. He's like, oh, I was ashamed and all of this stuff. And it made her cry and be emotional. That is like a narcissist for real. Like, trying to get you to be on their side. Like, trying to play villain after you caught them in something. But, yeah. Crimes of Passion, Victim of Love. Watch it. Those are my thoughts.